Hello and welcome to another Big Finish review. In this Big Finish review, I shall be looking at a short trip, which Big Finish recently had on sale. The short trip range, and of course, me being me, I did pick up a few, so you can expect a few short trip reviews in the near future. And I have reviewed some short trips in the past, which I'll put a link in the description to those reviews, like the Jago and Lightfoot Revival, the Time Tunnel, and the Toy. So those reviews will be in the description below, so you can check those out. And if you're not familiar with the short trips, I'll just do a quick little cover of what they are. They're essentially the most audiobook-like thing what Big Finish do. One reader just telling a half an hour to 40-minute adventure. They're great fun, and I highly recommend you check them out, because the short trips, they are an overlooked range, and they are some hidden gems stories what are in there. I haven't come across a bad one yet, which is saying something of the high standard what they are. And I will say the short trips are very refreshing to listen to if you want to break from full cast audio adventures. Then the short trips are a great way to continue your Big Finish fix, because once you get Big Finish, you can't really stop. So yeah, they're a great way, and to be honest, they're just great stories to unwind down to at night and just listen to and just enjoy. Because they are an audiobook, so they're just nice stories to listen to and relax and unwind to. And plus, the price of them being £2.99. They're very affordable considering Big Finish's sort of price, because some things are a bit expensive on the pricey side. And if you want something new from Big Finish but you can't quite afford a full cast audio drama yet, because you're waiting for the payday to come along, then the short trips are a great way to continue your Big Finish fix. I'm talking like Big Finish is a drug, and it kind of is a drug in a way, because once you start, like I said, you can't really stop. And I will say that the two recent short trips, A Heart on Both Sides and All Hands on Deck, the day I'm recording this, that's just been released, are very exciting in the sense that they are precursors to the 8th Doctor Time War box set out in October. That might be out by the time this review goes out. So yeah, and I will say, ever since this was announced, I've been so pumped for these two releases, because we see Nyssa in the Time War, a companion I didn't think would actually get a short trip, or who was involved in the Time War. You would expect a short trip to be focused on Romana or Leela, but to have Nyssa and Susan is just great, because obviously Susan's met the 8th Doctor before in the 8th Doctor Adventures with Lucy Miller. So that'll be great to experience that. I haven't listened to that just yet. So yeah, without further ado, let's look at A Heart on Both Sides. So taking a look at the cover art for the short trips are very simplistic, with just featuring the Doctor, and this time we've got a feature of the companions. So we've got the 8th Doctor there looking a bit battered, and we've got some shards of glass with Nyssa there, and a sort of fiery background. Then we have the short trips banner there, what the story is, who it's by and who performs it, and the Doctor Who banner, and that's basically the cover art. Quickly before I go on to my thoughts on the story, I just want to say that the total running time for this story is 34 minutes. Now, what do I think of A Heart on Both Sides? Now, if you're expecting the 8th Doctor and Nyssa fighting in the Time War against the Daleks, then you can think again, as this story is very much self-contained, set on the planet Reeve and inside Nyssa's spaceship, with this story really focusing on the casualties of war and the effect that has on an alien race just simply being sort of the bystanders. And it's essentially being a character piece for Nyssa, as you would expect. And one thing I do love about the story is the tone, as it is very bleak and grim. With this story being an audiobook, you get the chance for some excellent world building, with this story set on the planet Reeve, which is right by Gallifrey, which is a refueling planet. So it's very industrial, with smoke billowing from the massive pipes, which is rusting away and worn down, which aids the tone. And the pre-title sequence sets the story up with a bang, quite literally, so you instantly know what you're going to get with this story. With the middle of the story, I did think it would go down a certain direction, which the story didn't. If this story was full cast, I probably could see it going down that direction, and the last 8 minutes are when things really start to ramp up. And going back to the atmosphere, you do have this sort of unsettling and unnerving feeling when you're listening to this story, since what happened in the pre-title sequence, with this whole sort of thing, are there more explosions going to go off? So you do sort of feel you feel totally immersed in the environment what Rob Nisbet has created. And I will say that the story does have quite a lovely ending, but I do have a little criticism, though the ending is lovely, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Moving on to characters now, obviously they're all performed by Sarah Sutton, so if we start off with Nyssa, like I said, this story is a great character piece for her, this being very much the old Nyssa which we first heard in the audio Cobwebs. So we have more of a wise Nyssa, and I will say putting her in this situation is great, as we have this atrocity raging across the universe and throwing this really innocent and kind-hearted character who still sees good in the universe is brilliant. And we really do see Nyssa nearly at breaking point, as she's worried that she can't help everyone, and supplies are running low. She's just confused why the Time Lords would do such a thing. And we do have these nice little moments where she fondly remembers the Fifth Doctor, and that's really a nice touch. And you can't help but feel that moments like that are spurring Nyssa on, and Sarah Sutton really is in her element, bringing all these elements to life. The Eighth Doctor, now I've just got to say, the dialogue within this story, you can imagine Paul McGann saying the dialogue in your head, and the Doctor does get some witty dialogue to the sisters, which are basically these robot nurses, and Sarah Sutton really did capture the energy of the Eighth Doctor, and the Eighth Doctor is cleverly weaved into the story with him coming back to save Nyssa, and he's just basically passing through, and he's very proud of Nyssa. Dr. Isherwood, Sarah Sutton does a marvellous job bringing this character to life with her putting on a Yorkshire accent. So I quite like that she did that to sort of differentiate the characters. I mean, when I listened to the toy, she did a marvellous Tegan impression. So yeah, I like Sarah Sutton's sort of reading and performing these, because she puts different voices on for the different characters. But back to Isherwood, she's very much a stern character who hates the Time Lords, so she's very twisted and quite aggressive, and she's scarred from the war, and she's very much a character who gives us a backstory on previous events, what have happened on Reeve, and why the people of Reeve hate the Time Lord. So yeah, it's very cool. Now I did say I did have a few negatives with this story. Now the story does have two big twists, and I found one of the twists predictable, which didn't detract from my enjoyment of the story. I still enjoyed it, and the other twist was totally unexpected, so I like that. One twist I did find predictable, but there was another twist what I just did not expect. But my main gripe is Nyssa never recognised the Doctor, even at the very end. Surely, she would have recognised the traits as the Doctor, as the Doctor still has the same moral, conduct, and that's just a real shame. But I guess the way the Eighth Doctor said goodbye to Nyssa would confuse her, because it's certainly a way the Fifth Doctor wouldn't have said goodbye to Nyssa. So yeah, it's very interesting, and it's I guess it kind of is a throwback to Terminus with how Nyssa left the Fifth Doctor. So what are my overall thoughts on A Heart on Both Sides? Well, I think it is a great self-contained story without a Dalek in sight, which is very refreshing to hear, as this story does have sort of a Star Wars-esque vibe with the planet and the robot nurses, and the sound design is excellent, from explosions to people screaming in agony. It's just a great story what focuses on the innocent bystanders in the war, and I can't help but feel how great this story would have been even more to have had Paul McGann in it. And Sarah Sutton did a fantastic job bringing this story to life, and there are great little Fifth Doctor references like Praxic gas, what the reason why the Fifth Doctor wore the celery, and we have Nyssa's spaceship called the Traken, and she's named some of the wards on the ship after the Fifth Doctor's companions like Turlo, Adric, Tegan. So that's a nice little hidden reference that will make fans little squeal going, oh, that's nice and cool. So overall, I would give A Heart on Both Sides an 8 out of 10. A very interesting short trip, and like I said, a great self-contained story, and I do urge you to check it out, because it is a great little precursor to the 8th Doctor Time War box set, and it sort of expands the Time War a bit more. So yeah, thank you very much for listening or watching this video, and I'll see you on my next video, whatever that will be. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. So thank you very much, and goodbye.